Alrighty. How's it going, everybody? Okay, so the thing that I want to work on today is last couple of streams we've been working on this whole published unpublished concept, right? So I can unpublish a product or I can make it published, and that controls whether or not it's like visible. So if this is published and I head over here and I click the link to the checkout form, I can see it. But if I make it a draft, then it's like a 404, right? No one can buy it. So what I was thinking the other day is that there's actually some complexity here that I didn't really account for originally, which is that currently if something is in draft mode, almost every field is optional, in the sense that I don't want to force someone to provide a price or an image or a description or a webhook or any of that stuff if they're in draft mode, because that's just kind of annoying to have to fill out the whole form just to be able to save your progress, even though you might not have come to a decision on every single piece yet. The problem is, though, once, so say I delete this like price, right? And I go and save these changes. So that's no big deal. I'm allowed to save them. But if I go to publish this now, it'll say I can't publish, it's incomplete and can't be published. Something I'd like to work on sometime soon, actually, is being able to be more helpful here. Like say, like it's because you need to fill out the price, that sort of thing. But say we did set this back to a price, right? Like 139. And then save this. And then I publish it. Right now, I can go back to here and I can change this to blank and save it. And it's already published now. So I shouldn't be allowed to get rid of the price if I'm published, right? Like the validation that I need to apply is sort of dependent on the state of the product. So that's something that I got to thinking about the other day. It made me realize that I need to kind of rework how editing works. And I think it's going to be easier to do everything I want if I can do it on the client side. Because check out what happens if I go to the checkout page now. I literally just get a blank page because everything's broken because that data is not there. So I don't think that I'm going to be able to solve this problem right away. Like I think I could solve this problem now, but I don't really want to solve it in the way that I would purely with like a server rendered form. I think it'll be nicer if we do it all on the client. So what I want to work on this stream is just sort of porting over this whole edit form to be like a pure Vue component instead of kind of a mix right now like it is. And depending on how far we get with that, we may be able to start working on implementing this sort of state-based validation stuff. Or maybe we'll save that for another stream. That background on the 404 is not intentional. That's literally just like the background that you get when you go to purchase the product. You can see that background is already there. It's just the checkout form Vue component doesn't load because of some error. So it looks nice, but it's completely by accident. All right. So let's look at some code and get rid of some noisy crap here. The other day I actually updated this to Laravel 5.5 too, which is kind of cool. All right, let's create a new window here. And I'm using Mix now where I was using Elixir before. So I think I actually have MW as Mix Watch. And what do we have changed here? Oh, yeah, it's no big deal. All right. So let's get this open here and head over to Sublime. And you can see currently the way this works is we have this edit form that lives inside of, if you look in the sidebar here, this is in Vue's products. So it's products edit. And it has this section here, which is this, actually I guess this whole section here represents this chunk. And then inside the content area is where we have the actual form. So you can see it's a regular like server-side form that posts to the update action. It's multi-part because of the fact that we're uploading a file sometimes. So that's something I haven't thought through that much, but it's going to be interesting to decide how we solve it. And then we have a child component here, which is like the banner image upload component. And this is this section here. So if we look at that component, banner image upload, all it is like a div with a div here that specifies the background image itself, and then this absolute positioned label that sits over top of the whole thing so that it's all clickable, which is like just like a trick to be able to make a file input like clickable from anywhere. So this is really simpler than it looks, right? Like this is really just me clicking a file input and getting a standard file picker. Nothing fancy there. And then when the file is returned back, I think you can see update image preview, which is a change event that we're listening for on the input file. So we get the files that were attached to that event. If there's no files attached, then we get rid of the image preview. Otherwise, we use the file reader API to load the file and get like the base 64 like data URL version of it and throw that in image preview. And then our banner styles just renders that by passing basically the data URL version of the file into an inline style. So that lets us preview that image with a new one as soon as we change it, which is kind of neat. But in general, it's not doing anything fancy in terms of how the file gets uploaded, right? All it is doing is sending the file onto this file input and then letting the server form handle the rest of it just because it's still in the DOM. This is like a little cloaked div, so you won't see that easily. Basically, that's just there so that when this page is loading, this form stays like the full height. I don't know if I can even simulate that. If we throttled this whole thing down to super slow. Oh man, here it goes. GPRS. How long is this going to take? Okay, so you can see like the image hasn't loaded yet, or Vue hasn't even compiled yet, but it's still staying the same height, so that when Vue is done mounting to the page, it doesn't shift everything, which is what would happen if we weren't relying on that vcloak stuff. So let's work on porting over basically this chunk, everything from the form, into a new component and doing whatever we need to do to get some of the things working that are otherwise not going to work. So the way that I usually like to do this is basically putting two of the same thing on the page. So where we have this form, let's just add another component directly underneath it. And what should we call it? Maybe, so this section is called product details. So maybe we'll call it like product details edit form. So let's head over to our JavaScript components. And I'll just take some arbitrary short one here that we can copy. None of them are short. Nope, none of them are short. We'll take this one. Product details edit form. And we'll head over to app.js and register that component. I'd like to come up with a, so we call this update product webhook settings form. Maybe we'll rename this new one. Maybe we'll call it update product details form. I still don't have like a good approach for, I don't know if people do anything fancy to organize all this crap that they're importing. So let's rename this to be update product details form. And we'll just make it something really simple to start, just to kind of make sure that we have everything kind of working. We'll accept no props. We'll return an empty data. We'll have no computed or no methods, but keep it there because we're probably going to need them. And let's run this again since we created a new file just to be safe. And I guess we need to update this now. So this will be update product. Whoa. Details form. So do we get our hello there? Okay, so that's rendering. So that's good. So let's copy this whole thing over and stick it in there and just kind of piece by piece remove the stuff that we don't need or that's going to break. So we do not need the method field or the CSRF field, but something that I am wondering is how easily we're going to be able to submit the form via Ajax as multi-part as a patch request. It seems like it should be possible. I've never done it though, but we'll figure it out. So I'm going to get rid of the method and action on here because I want to submit the whole thing as Ajax ultimately. Actually, you know what? Let's keep it like this for now and still do a full page refresh and try and do it in the slowest steps possible. So this action, we're going to want to pass that through as a prop, or let's start by passing it through as a prop. There's a couple things we could do here. Something that I've been trying lately that I kind of dig is having my JSON version of an Eloquent model having references to its relevant links. So in here, instead of having to like pass through it as a prop, in my Vue component, I'd like to be able to say like product.links.update. And this will return the update URL for that product. So it's all kind of like encapsulated nicely. Let's pass that through as a prop for now. So we'll just say, we'll call it action. Why not? And that can be a string. And we'll accept an action prop in here. And this can be action. I guess this is not going to work. So we're going to have to do input type hidden name equals, I think it's underscore method, right? We're going to want to simulate these manually. At least, like, again, we're trying to do this in small steps so that it kind of is less likely to not be totally broken. And then the CSRF field, how's that one work? So we'll have to get the CSRF token. I think I might have the CSRF token inside the layout. So let's look at layouts app, which extends layouts master. So I have the CSRF token in a meta tag, but I also have it inside this script tag. So this is only going to be temporary. We're not going to need this for very long because we're going to switch to an Ajax submission, which is not going to require manually getting the CSRF token anyways. So let's just grab it off the window for now. So we're going to want to bind this to, does this work? Value like with a bind, or do I have to do vmodel for that? I guess we'll find out, won't we? So we'll have this be CSRF token, and the CSRF token will have to be a computed property. That returns window.app.csrf token, I think. Okay, I don't want to go into the browser or open up any links or anything to try and figure stuff out. It's boring for people to watch, sadly, but I appreciate it. Okay, so some things are probably super broken here. No? Okay. I'm kind of wondering why that isn't giving us an error or something. Like it's not appearing anywhere and we're not getting errors. Oh, here we go. So this is because we're using blade tags. So let's just basically go through and get rid of a bunch of stuff temporarily. So I'm just going to make this product.image URL. We'll have to make sure we can get that back in a JavaScript version of the product. Here we want to add a class if there's an error. So I'm just actually going to delete that because that's no good. Here we want to basically remodel this instead to product.name. We're not going to have errors for it. So we'll just get rid of that for now. Get rid of this. So again, vmodel to product. Oh, price in dollars. Question for the chat. When you guys are doing Vue stuff, what do you use for property names? Do you use a snake case or camel case for stuff coming back from your JSON API? Think about that and let me know. Alrighty. Description, same deal. Do you have to use vmodel for a text area? Is it just smart enough to do that? I'm guessing it will be because it would seem kind of funky to put that in the content. We'll find out though. Snake case. All right. I dig it. I dig it. Man, this is tedious. Okay, product.themeColor. Errors, blah, blah, blah. Save changes. Cool. And, I mean, if we didn't screw it up too bad, we should just have to accept a product prop. So let's do that. Pass that in here. So we can say product is equal to product to JSON. And see how messed up everything is. Okay. So it looks like is it compiling now? Yep. So let's see what we get through. So product comes through, but I only have these fields on product right now, which is, you know, not any good because we need a bunch of other stuff. So let's get these working one at a time. So I'll try to get the name first. So let's go to product.php and let's also go to product test. So I have this test for converting something to an array. So let's just have a name come through. My product. Run that, and it fails because we're not including that in the JSON. So let's go down here. Name. This name. Run this again. That's green. Refresh. That's passed through. Same thing for price in dollars. So we're going to want to set the price of this to be some cents, like say $79.50. And the price in dollars should be $79.50. We'll see. That might not actually be a number. It might be a string. Okay, failing. So let's add that. And I think I have a price in dollars. Yeah. Cool. Number format probably returns a string, right? Artisan Tinker. Number formats, 1000 point whatever to 2 decimal places. Yeah, it comes back as a string. And what are these other things I'm doing here too? Okay. All right. So we should add that to our test, that should be a string, not a floating point number. Okay, so that's working now. Okay, so if we did that right, we should get the price showing up here. And description. So let's add that to our test. Description. We'll say like, my fancy product description. I'll add that here. And we're red, so we'll pull that through. Green, refresh. Okay, theme color. Alrighty, theme color. Let's just pick like some arbitrary hex color. And what do we get now? Failure. So this is pretty repetitive, but we'll get there. Okay, green. And I didn't mean to quit Sublime there. Product test. Product edit blade. Update product settings form. Update product details form. Okay, and then product.php. That should be enough. All right, so no theme color. Let's type in a theme color. Here's a good one. Facade. All right, that's working. You want to see how ugly that facade color is going to make this look? Quite something, isn't it? Okay, so the next thing is to get the image showing up, right? So I kind of want to look at this and just kind of see what is it that we're even passing through here. Actually, if we just look at the rendered one. So it's a banner image, and we pass through this link. And if I'm not mistaken, looking at the edit form, that's pretty simple. It's a product image URL. And is this an image URL attribute? Yeah, so we can just pass that through. Make sure that that's included in our JSON. Image URL. Now, I gotta look at the database to understand how that gets transformed. Wrong project. Okay, so products. So this is the sort of path that we want to set. Okay. And that's going to get, it looks like, storage, /storage added to the front of it. So that's reasonable. Okay. So we'll have image path here, which will be something like this. I don't have that good of a keyboard, depending on your definition of good. I just use this one. It's a old Apple compact wired keyboard. So it's the same as the old Bluetooth ones, but wired, so it doesn't run out of batteries. I hate the new ones. The arrow keys are in a weird spot and the key travel sucks. Okay, so the image URL for this is going to be /storage/images myproduct.jpg. And what do we get? What am I doing? We got to run the test. Duh. Okay, so that's not coming back. So let's head over to our to array here and add one more thing. So the image URL. Please be green. All right. So now that that's green, inside here we can uncomment this and use product.image_URL. I kind of want a mechanical keyboard. They look cool. I saw this one that the layout kind of was intriguing to me. It's a Leopold FC660C, I think. It's kind of like a 10 keyless keyboard, but a little bit smaller with the arrow keys kind of tucked under closer to where they are on the Mac. All right. So those look like pretty similar now, which is good. So let's try deleting this one, the non-view one. See what that gives us here. Let's try changing the name of this and see what happens. Okay. That seems fine. Price seems fine. That seems okay. Let's change it to another one. What's another one that's a good one? I feel like I think coffee is one. Let's see what color coffee is out of curiosity. Probably horrifying. That would be a gross colored coffee to be drinking. Badass, I dig that. Let's go back to facade. Okay. Let's download one of these other images, like the Heroicons one. Jeez, I made this hard for myself with this absolute positioned thing. And just save a copy of this and then try updating the image and make sure that didn't work. Heroicons, banner. I think I might override something here, so let's just put it 2. And let's just try uploading that. Nope, that's not the right image. Jesus. Okay. Cool. So that kind of works as expected, which is good. So let's refresh the whole database so we get back to decent state here. Okay, so now that this is ported over to a Vue component, more or less, like admittedly it is still using like a standard form submission. Maybe the next thing we should do is try and get this working with an Ajax submission. So before I do that, since I don't want to have to pass in this update action through the Vue, I want to try that approach that I was talking about before, which is like including a relevant link in the JSON of the product, which will get some people raging because of SRP or whatever the fuck. But I think it is actually super practical. So say we wanted to make sure this included a links section. And in the links section, we had like an update link. And we want that update link to be route. There's two ways we could do this. We could either use the route helper here, which is probably the better way to prevent things from going out of sync if we decide to change this URL. But it's also sort of magical in some ways because we're not checking like the real output. But let's start with this. I think this will be okay. And here's a trick that we've talked about before, but I guess I wasn't doing it in these days. If you're using the route helper and the route only has one parameter, you don't need to pass through an array of parameters. This will still work. Now, if what you're passing through is an eloquent model, you don't even need to get the ID. You can just pass through the product. So here's the product that we want to update. Kind of cool. I'm into it. This should fail because there's no links section. Let's head back to the product and specify that this should render with a links section. That links section should include an update section. And that update value should just be this, which is going to be this in this case. And we should have a trailing comma because why not? And now we're green. So that's good. So let's not pass through this action prop anymore. Since that's unnecessary, we can just pass through the product, which is kind of sweet. And then in the form, we can bind this action to product.links.update. And we can make sure that didn't break anything. So if we look here, yeah, that's still good. And we can change this to like 159, save changes, still good. So that's like one less prop to pass through and one more thing that's just like nice and encapsulated inside that product, which is cool. I dig that. What next? What next? Okay, the Ajax stuff. So let's look at the Axios documentation because this is going to be confusing. Because of the fact that we need to send it as multi-part and we need to send it as a patch request. So we're going to have to configure it probably a little bit differently than normal. Let's look for the word multi-part on here. No? Doesn't appear? That's terrifying. Let's look for form data. No? All right. That's too bad. Let's just see if we can figure it out then. Okay. Let's just Google for it. Okay, so this is sad, but I think that's going to be necessary. So one thing I don't know off the top of my head is how to get a file from the banner image upload. Component. So this is what I'm going to do, which is kind of grim in a lot of ways. For a temporary measure, we're going to inline this component. It doesn't really need to be a subcomponent. And then we're going to copy basically everything here except for the data, or except for the props. Ah, crap. We need the computed. Actually, we might not need this computed anymore because of the fact that we're going to submit it with Axios. But anyways, this should get us to a slightly better place in terms of not needing to worry about trying to like listen for changes on this component and get the the file data out of it. Because I don't know off the top of my head how to even get that as it is anyways. I think we need to do like a element reference here to get like the files off of it. JavaScript get file from file input. This is old, so that's unfortunate. So I think it's almost like we have to store it in data when it changes. Yeah, I'd like to go back to using the subcomponent eventually, but I just want to get it working first because there's things like unknowns for me that I don't know how to work with just dealing with it in the same component. So I'd rather get it working in one component, and then once I've understood the other parts that I already don't understand, then move it back. And again, the parts that I don't know a lot about right now is this stuff, basically. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do to attach like files 0 to a form data payload, basically. You know what I mean? Because what we need to do here is we need to have like a submit action. And then that submit action needs to simulate submitting this form, right? So let's have a, let's get rid of this whole thing. I don't know why there's even a role form there. We don't need the encoding type anymore. We don't even need the action, if I'm being serious here, but we do need to do submit prevent default equals submit. And let's extract that out for a sec. So when we go to submit it, we need to construct this multi-part form data instance ourselves, right? So I think it's going to be like similar to this thing. So let's just try and get something that does something. Even if we don't send the image, let's get it to just send the other data. So we're going to need like, oh, this sucks. So you know how props are immutable. So we can't use vModel on something that comes in through a prop. So what we need to do is have like a section here. This is what I do sometimes. I'll have this bind to the product as it comes in. And then I'll vModel everything to form instead of product. So let's just look for all those vModels and change it to form. So basically we're using this product prop to seed some default data. Yeah, David Hemphill is right in that what I want to do eventually is have uploading the image be a totally separate thing from changing the image. But I just want to get it working as is before that happens. Okay, so this is broken in some interesting way. Undefined. I wonder why that's undefined. Oh, I know why. Because we were passing it through before. So banner styles is actually going to be image preview path. And instead of this dot image preview, it's going to be this dot product dot. No, this dot image preview is right. Let's look at that banner image upload thing again. So this is accepting a default image. Where was that default image getting used? Oh, we're setting it to default image at the beginning. Okay. So this default image is actually going to be product.image URL. And that should get us a little bit closer. Okay. does Vuex help me submit a file as form data with Axios? I don't think that is right, is it? I thought that was more for like state management of your whole Vue, like SPA. Anyways, so we have theme color, description, price in dollars, and name. So name, price in dollars, description, so Vuex would be helpful for the problem that I'm having with like the prop coming in and like assigning that to the other data property. Maybe? Is that what you mean? There's definitely a better way to write this, but again, I just want to kind of proof of concept, make sure that I understand how to send a form data object with Axios in a patch request, and then eventually figure out how to send that file. So we can do a patch to this.product.links.update and send through data. I'm not even going to listen to what happens, and I'm going to get rid of all these semicolons. So let's just see if we can update the name in the database, just as like a first test. Do we have this figured out at all? So if we just change this to test-driven Laravel, and we look at the network and clear this and hit save, we got a 422 naturally because we completely broke something. The given data failed to pass validation. The name field is required. So I mean, it looks like we're passing through a name field, doesn't it? So let's go to our controller, our product. I think it's just product controller, I guess, at update. And let's just return request all. Just so we can see what the hell is even coming back. So it's coming through empty, which is interesting. So Laravel doesn't notice the payload stuff coming through. So that's a tricky problem. So I wonder why that would be. So how do you think Laravel knows where to look for data? Like, do you think Laravel doesn't know that it's a multi-part thing? Let's try sending the headers ourselves and see if that makes any difference. So we'll refresh this. And we'll send that through. Clear this. So Laravel still has no idea that we're sending data through. So it does look like it's sending through the right thing. So I wonder what the difference would be. These ones are always like so tricky to troubleshoot. let's look at the Illuminate HTTP request. So I think we have to look at interacts with input. And I think all here is now going to, so this input, get import source, which I bet is related. Interesting. I really don't know why Laravel would be ignoring this stuff. So this right here, for what it's worth, is the whole reason why I decided to take that banner image upload component and inline it into this component and basically just remove every single part of this process that I didn't or that I already, just basically simplify it down so there was only one problem that I was trying to solve. I don't want to deal with like trying to send the file at the same time that I'm listening for changes coming back from the child component, at the same time that I'm trying to figure out how to even send a patch request with a form data object in the first place. You know what I mean? So by trying to sort of basically isolate the one variable that I don't understand down to just like, how do we make a patch request with form data and have Laravel understand it? At least now I know like what problem we're trying to solve and not trying to deal with a million other things that could be breaking it that we don't understand. So it is a little bit odd how this is happening. Can you get the raw request body? Let's try a post request, but send through a method of patch. I don't know. I don't think that's going to make any difference, but let's try. Oh, interesting. That seemed to do it. Okay, so is the problem that you can't make a patch request with a multi-part form data? That might be like the real underlying problem. Let's see. I don't even know if this is the right. Thing. Oh, here it is on Symfony. It might just be. I mean, like. So I guess it's just not supported, is the short of it. So that's fine. I'm willing to accept that. So we'll have to do something gross like this. At least I think we can probably get rid of this header now. Now this is like another reason for why ultimately I would like to move from uploading the file and uploading the new data. Instead of having those be part of the same request, I want them to be different. So if I can separate those two so that uploading a new image is a totally different act than changing the data, even if changing the data includes a reference to the new image, then I can just use a regular patch request here. I don't need to use form data or any of that stuff. And then I can just send it through as regular JSON, which is what I would prefer to do. We can't do that yet, but I'd like to do what David was talking about, which is basically rework a lot of this at some point so that whenever you go to upload a new file, or even like one way to do it would be when I change this to a new image, have that get stored, and then when I hit save changes, have it make 2 requests. The first one uploads an image to the server and gets a unique ID back from the server that says, hey, here's a reference to that image that you just uploaded, or even a path to it. And then fire off a second request that's just a JSON request with the data that says, here is all the new updates, including the new image path that we want to use. So I think that would simplify what we have to do right here. So why don't we try something hacky quickly for a second here. And that is, so this file is named banner image. Does it have a name here? We call it banner image too, but it really doesn't matter. So why don't we append banner image here too? And we'll just say this dot new banner image. And we'll just make that be some data that starts as null. And here, when this changes, can we say this dot new banner image equals files 0? Is it as simple as that? If you want to get the fancy, if we want to attach a file to a form data, mdn form data file using form data objects, sending files using a form data object. So let's just kind of look here. New form data. I don't see the file here. Will this be a file instance? Might be. Let's console.log files 0 here and just take a look. So if we grab this Heroicons thing, yeah, it's a file instance. Sweet. Okay, so this is so hacky, and we will fix this, but I think this might let us do what we want it to do. So say we change this whole thing to like Heroicons 2, and it was like $49, and it was like Heroicons, blah, 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 and this was badass, because that's a cool hex code. And we change the image to the Heroicons one, and then we look at the network tab, and we hit save changes, and we just cross our fingers and hope. And it doesn't work because we did this dumb thing where in our controller we're still returning the request. So we do it again, and it worked, and it returned to 302. So whatever, we don't want to return a redirect there anymore. But now this worked, except for the price. So that's kind of grim. Let's see what it sent. The given data failed to pass validation. The banner image must be an image. I feel like that should be passing through null, and that should be working. So I'll have to figure that out. So I'll do this again. Okay, so now it got sent through, and we have 49 for price in dollars. But if we look here, it looks like the price is getting set to null. Man, UI programming. UI programming is the trickiest type of programming that there is. Update product test. So you can see, oh, we actually pass it through as a price, not as price in dollars. Okay. So that's our fault. So we pass this through as price. Now I could swear that I'm able to pass through an optional image. Banner image is only replaced if provided. Oh, but in this case, we're just not passing it at all. Let's see what happens there to do that. Oh, and it's called image path. No, sorry. Banner image. I mean, we should be sending through null, right? But is what's happening that it doesn't notice that it's null? Yeah, okay. This is the problem. This is why everything should be JSON. Because what's happening is you can't send through null. When we send through an empty image, it's just going to send through the string null. That's going to be interpreted as the string null and not converted to nothing, whereas an empty string is going to get converted to the string null, I think. Let's send this through again. Okay, so that time I think it worked, right? Because we didn't get that error back. So things are a little grim here. We got some work to do to fully improve this and get it working the way that we want. But one quick thing that I'm going to do is update our update product test. Man, we're not doing enough assertions about responses in here. So you know what? Let's save this for another thing. Let's add this to here. And we'll say, don't return a redirect when updating product via Ajax, because that's kind of what we're trying to avoid. Next. And then upload image separate from form details. And that'll let us stop doing this funky stuff with the form data thing. So I'm not even going to bother trying to make this better because I don't even want it to survive. I want to be able to delete this code basically. But we do have it working at least, which is good. So if we go to like another product like getting get and we change this one to be heroicons also, and we say blah blah, and we make it 199, and we just put a bunch of trash in here and make this facade. This should like work generally. Yeah, even though it's not quite super polished, but we're getting there. So we've been going for an hour, so I'm gonna shut it down now. That was a little bit more of a rough ride than it sometimes is, but that's how things go when you're trying to learn new stuff and figure it out. So thanks for everyone hanging out in the chat and helping me figure this out and get it working. I appreciate the Google assistance and pitching in with any tips you have. And hopefully, if you're available and have the time, I'll catch you on the next stream next Tuesday at the same time. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.